Hi there and welcome back. So in this video I'm going to walk you through a simple setup for creating procedural assets in Houdini and have a look at the Karma and MaterialX noises for procedural shading. The project files for this video will be uploaded to Patreon if you want to dissect it. So for the individual bananas I just used a mix of procedural and direct modeling techniques, but you can just replace it with a bended tube with some tapering. I also painted a mask to use in Solaris. So for the bunch that looks like this, I started with a tube, selected a few faces with the range node, add a mirror for 2 layers of bananas, and extracted the centroid where I'll be placing them. Okay, now we need to add normals to orient the bananas. In this wrangle, the first part is to create normals that point outwards. Then I am flattening the normal y-axis. After that, I am creating a blend slider so I can mix the two normals orientation, which I am doing with the lerp function. The last line just sets the up attributes to the positive y-axis. If I play with the blend slider, you can see how I can edit the orientation of the normals, making them more or less flat. Here just randomizing a bit the normal so I can have a less uniform distribution of the banana bunch. Okay, now we need to place the cluster of bananas in the main stem, and for that I am starting with a line with the same size of the tube that acts as the stem. Adding a mountain node to break the uniformity, carving it so I can control where the banana bunch starts and ends along the stem, resampling it and adding some jitter to the y-axis. Now adding normals along the x-axis, and here is where we orient the points so we have a spiral effect. So I'm creating a variable where I set an interval of rotation around 90 degrees with some seed. Then for each point I multiply the point number by the rotation amount, creating that way the spiral effect. Also adding some random scale for each cluster, and of course copying the banana cluster to these points. For the stem, a simple tube with a mountain node to affect the position and some bevel at the ends. Then in order to target the different parts in Solaris, I am adding a name for the stem and the bananas. And that's about it for the sub setup. So the first thing you wanna do in Solaris when you import PackGeo is to set those primitives to be a point instancer. As for the shading, first I am importing the mask for the tips of the bananas using the Geo property value node. Then using a color mix, I am assigning a dark brown to the tip and some other color mix downstream. Here I am using 3D noises, and in order to tile them you need to connect a position node with a multiply where you set the amount of repetitions you want. Then in the mix I am adding bits of green. The last mix just blends the main yellow color with some brown using a fractal 3D noise. As for the shader itself, there's just some mid roughness values and a bit of SSS. So that's about it. Hopefully you picked up a few tips. There are still some inconsistencies in this setup, like avoiding intersections between the bananas or really simple shading setup, but hopefully I can cover that in another time. Don't forget to check out my Patreon if you want to support the channel and download the project files. Thank you and see you in the next one.